So this is seat number 3. I had a gift certificate, so I figured I'd try a new one. I wanted something more padding on it. My legs are long, the 34-inch inseam, and I just want a less bend in my knee, less bend at the hip. So it's, you know, obviously not up to par with the other seat, the CC custom seat that I have. It's extremely wide and extremely plump and extremely prominent, but I want to try it. It was, like I said, I had some certificates saved up, nothing else I needed, so what's it like to put a touring seat on a Fat Boy Low, or in this case, you know, same thing, Fat Boy S. So the looks are obvious. It's not what it's meant for. And I mean, it's overkill too. If they had the non-wide solo seat, which is looks pretty sizable in itself, I would have bought that. But once again, just something to play with. So I was just trying to come to a stop in 3rd or 4th gear there. I gotta pay more attention. But yeah, just want to see what it's like on longer rides. I go on 150 to 200 mile rides pretty regularly. I don't go on super long rides, you know, like technical, whatever technical touring means. I'm sure it's beyond 200 miles. But yeah, it's a Fat Boy Low setup, twin cam, Fat Boy Low setup, and the seat is low, man. That was a concern from the get-go when I bought the bike. I'm just my height, I need something bigger to be comfortable. But the bike otherwise was just so cool. Let's get out of here. We'll slip to the right action. Yeah, a lot of cars still. And that was my concern. So it was pretty comfortable. I mean, I can't say it's uncomfortable. Unless you go, once again, you start pushing like 200 miles in a day, it can add up, especially the CC custom seat. Thing's pretty, but it's thin. You can see how thin it is. It accentuates the lines when it's that thin. That's why a lot of the nice looking seats aren't always the most comfortable. So I figured with a taller seat, the legs have a more natural bend, and that's certainly true. The difference in height, at least first few miles, couple miles, certainly apparent. My legs just feel less strained. My hips aren't so low, and therefore my knees aren't so high. Another thing too, people always ask me about the height of the bars, and I mean, it's so much else matters in terms of just torso lengths and all that, other than just your straight up height. But it becomes apparent, and I figured this to be the case, that there's also a noticeable difference in the bar height. If you have higher bars, suddenly they seem well below my shoulders, and they were below my shoulders before, but it's much more pronounced. They get into that, like, obviously much higher than dirt bike bars, but that sort of upright, in control command kind of stance. You're able to get over them more, and I think that's also a combination of the height of the seat, and also the fact that the padding in the back, the lip padding in the back, you also sit a little further forward, and it's not crunching up my knees too much, but yeah, you certainly feel more in command here. The backrest on it too, as you guys can see, which for me, in terms of longer distance comfort and one of these bikes, you can have one of the two. You get a backrest, so you're constantly, your torso isn't constantly fighting the wind, you're not doing a constant crunch, or less so, or you should get a screen that's sizable. The cushion on it, I mean, certainly softer. I've heard other people talk about Mustang seats compared to stock and say they're a bit stiffer, and I wouldn't say that. Compared to stock, its stiffness is maybe similar, but it's just more comfortable. It just cups you a little better, shape better. And I think because of it, it feels softer. There's less pressure at one point. I don't know if that speaks to the actual foam or not, but certainly the contour and the way you distribute inside of it, it just feels more comfortable up front. So it's more comfortable, sit you a little further forward, so you're a little more over the bar. It's certainly higher. The thickness of that pad under you is substantial. So your bars suddenly get lower. Looks recovered, and quite frankly, I can imagine that many people would just find it completely unacceptable. And if I were ordering a seat too, and I had, you know, just going to Mustang to pick one out, I would consider this unacceptable. But there's something I run into at no cost. It feels pretty good to me. And I'm not here to flash, you know what I mean? I mean, what's going on here? I'm a dude heading out for a ride. What am I looking for? I mean, obviously I want to be able to look at my bike and think it looks good. To be honest, I still look at this thing and smile. I'm not entering any bike competitions, clearly. And I'm not looking to attract other people that want to fall in love with my bike. It's not of interest, you know? So an unexpected comment I'll make is about how the bike feels suspended. It almost, what does it? It acts as an element of the suspension now. The seat is not subtle. It's a pillow. I don't know if that'll last after it breaks in or whether or not there's something that'll change over time, but it does add to the comfort in that way. Backrest, it's height adjustable. It's set a bit low right now. So I don't think it matters much if you're trying to dig into it a little bit. Not really. I mean, I've leaned off the bike to some degree to try to limit how much I have to lean the actual bike in a corner because it scrapes so easily with these floorboards being so low. But you know, that's not what the bike's meant for. So it's meant to really just sit planted in your seat and to go. So it really shouldn't affect. I mean, for those who like to play on these twin cam Softails, it shouldn't make a big difference. When you come to a stop, because the seat is lifted, it could affect people who are a little shorter than myself. I don't know at what point that becomes relevant because the seat height's so low, even with the seat on it. But I could see how you could get a little uncomfortable if your height was in the, you know, maybe 5 foot to 5'6" range, possibly. That's my guess. I don't know. If that's the case, come to San Diego and feel free to sit on it. I wish I had a chance to test the seat out before I bought one. That's why I have 3. For most people, I mean, I can't say for most people, but for me, and I would assume this applies to most people, it really wasn't whether or not I wanted to change from the stock seat, because it's not the best looking thing, and it's certainly not the most comfortable. Not that it's not usable, of course it is, and it's fine, but once you made the decision to get a new seat, oh, those are rain clouds, man. Well, we could get a little wet, but I don't care. Once you made the decision, then for me at least, it was between looks and comfort, and that's something I think most rational people consider, at least, and people wind up falling on different ends of the spectrum depending what they do with the bike. I mean, if I was just rolling down the street to, you know, get coffee on the thing or get breakfast, or just to roll down a boulevard by the beach or something, then I mean, I would have got the thinnest, best looking seat out there to start with. But I like longer rides. I like getting out towards the desert. So of course I didn't go for the thinnest, best looking seat that just accentuated the lines. Motor Grasslands, what is this? Reserve. Well, road hunting as always. You know me, I like to explore. As long as there's another street in San Diego, I'll go looking for it. But let's give it a profile on this thing. I gave it a skinny before, make sure to get run over here on the road, but there's that big boy. Now if you see it next to the other one, it really makes it look bad. But as it stands on its own, it could be worse from that angle. So when you start seeing the width of this thing, that it really starts throwing you off. At least in my opinion. You're doing a job there, you're doing a job there. Alright. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just adapting to it. But I mean, yeah, it's a wide point. It's a wide point, so it totally changes the lines on this thing. It's really comfortable. You can see that, I mean, the CC custom seat, look at the size of this pad, man. The CC custom seat is so much thinner that effectively that creates a long drop between the top of the seat and the cushion here, and it's more straight up, so it gives you this back support by default because it's a fastback seat. You guys know fastback seats, they tend to have that character to them. And on top of that, you get this backrest on the CC Customs too, so all in all, it's got some lengthy, solid back support. This rises and lowers, and it goes forward and backwards like this, just pushing it back and forward. And I'll say that the material, overall construction of this thing, you can say that the quality of this seems to be the highest so far in terms of just the details. I'm not talking about, you know, longevity or how well things will last, but just the way it looks in this construction. I think it's also, it's pretty close to the CC Custom. But the CC was, I mean, it's truly a custom seat. They'll do whatever you want in terms of stitching, etc. I've been on this road before. It'll bite you. It's pretty rare you see a 15-mile-per-hour sign. You can imagine. It's pretty slow. Yeah, that's pretty steep. You see that? Take heed. Could be nothing. Could be something. Look at that. I'm like touching ground here. It's like I'm dirt biking. Great place for pizza. Good view. Cordiano Winery. I'm not saying that like they're the best pizza in the world, but it's just a nice setting. So if you guys are visiting San Diego, Cordiano Winery. I think it's in Poe or Ramona.